who is on the line with us. Really excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us. So my name is Tony Alexander, and I am with the Convergent Technologies digital transformation team. And I'm joined by Steve Smithers from Meraki, and he'll give a little bit of an introduction of who he is and what he does in a little bit. Steve, you want to hit to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit about the agenda. So the agenda for today, we'll talk a little bit about a changing landscape in the security technology world, and how we are bringing new solutions to market. We'll talk a little bit about Meraki, and then we'll talk about next steps. And also really excited, Steve and the team over at Meraki were willing to do a camera giveaway for us here today. So if you fill out a survey, you will be eligible to potentially win a giveaway prize. One being a camera and one being a special prize that Steve's going to talk about a little bit more in here in a couple minutes. So Steve, can you hit the next slide? So the Convergent Technologies digital transformation team has a mission, and our mission is to find really cool new technologies that are coming into the market and be able to bring them into end users' hands to drive value in their business. Steve, if you hit the next slide. From that perspective, technology has been changing a lot over the last few years, and we've all had this notion of cloud and IoT and AI and all of these kind of industry buzzwords and technology. And along with that can be tremendous value by bringing technologies to the cloud, by leveraging IoT solutions, by leveraging AI in that facet. But the but is that it can be very complex in environments. Technology can be complicated, and it can be very difficult to deploy, manage, and understand what it totally means within an enterprise organization. So at Convergent, the way that we confront that challenge is, and Steve, if you would hit the next slide, is we provide turnkey solutions that provide everything that you need in order to get to the cloud, leverage IoT devices, leverage new technology in your environment in an as-a-service package. That means that we bundle and wrap everything that you need all together, including maintenance, including all health monitoring, including deployment and all services, all inclusive, so that it's very easy and simple to deploy and manage it in your environment. And one of our key partners in making all of this happen and bringing these solutions to market, one of our greatest and best solutions providers from a technology and IoT perspective is Meraki. And so I'm extremely excited today to be introducing them as a key partner, and handing this webinar over to Steve to talk through Meraki and the really cool technology from an IoT and sensor perspective that they're bringing into the market, and how they can drive additional exciting business outcomes for end users of all kinds. So Steve, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you, Tony. I'm glad to be here. Hope everybody out there is doing well. I want to start it off by reminding everyone, if you stay to the end, we're going to give you an opportunity to fill out a quick survey, take you 30 seconds. And that'll enter you in for a drawing, which will pick the winners after the call, and we'll notify the winners tomorrow. So we're giving away a camera and a grill. This little grill apparently can cook a pizza in 60 seconds. So some lucky winner is going to get that sweet grill. Of course, we're talking about cameras today, so we'll keep it focused on that. So regarding cameras, right? A lot of people, and still to this day, right? And cameras have really evolved a lot in the last several years, but they think of cameras as a physical security solution, right? And that's okay, because they do that quite well, but they can do so much more than just secure your locations, right? They protect your assets and visitors and employees, but they can also provide, some pretty intelligent insights into the business and help businesses solve new challenges. And one of the things that we were actually looking at, and we just seek customer feedback all the time, and customers needed to know when the door was left open. People have access control systems, that's great, but they still a lot of times don't have the ability to be alerted if a door's been left open. So we're doing some neat integrations there on the physical security side and the business intelligence side, tying multiple systems together under one nice, easy to use Meraki user interface. So for those that are not familiar with us, we've been around for, 17 years now. We were acquired by Cisco in 2012. At that time, it was the largest acquisition in Cisco's history. We've been the fastest growing business unit in all of Cisco for 10 years running. So it's a great place to be. So we started off with access points, cloud managed, networking, access points, switches, firewalls, MDM, Meraki Insight, cellular gateways, the whole gambit, right? The thing that these all have in common is that they're easy to use under the single Meraki user interface. And so we make it very easy to access these networks, these cameras, these IoT sensors from anywhere in the world, and they're managed securely. There's no sacrifice in security, right? They're not mutually exclusive. So right now we have the largest cloud managed platform on earth. I think it's close to 70% of all cloud networking is handled by a Meraki network, which is pretty cool considering prior to the acquisition, we were just a small little company, but we've come a long way. We now have 3.4 customer networks. I think that number is closer to 4 million already since this slide was made. 10 million network devices online. You get it. We're big, we're growing, and it's a neat place to be. So since we started adding cameras to the mix, it's really changing the landscape of how we're looking at the dashboard. And I'll get to that in a moment. But one of the great things is this end-to-end visibility. Now you can see your switches and how is that connected to your camera? Which switch port is that camera connected to? And it gives you this deep visibility and analytics out of the box, off the shelf day one. And that's what customers love. They love that value day one that they get just from plugging the system in and having it work. And everything's automated, right? You have your cloud management, you have your deep insights. We can give you recommendations since we see so many different networks. Of course, none of the user traffic is going to our cloud, right? We don't even see video. Even if you want us to see your video, you have to literally log in and give support access to your video. But we can see settings, okay? And so we can make recommendation on what those settings might look like in your type of environment. So then you can easily choose, hey, you know what? Other people in the world are doing something similar. And Cisco is saying, if I add this setting here, it's going to make my life easier. So it helps you to optimize. And then, of course, everything is moving to this machine learning and with the MQTT protocols and open APIs. So it's making this have a lot of value out of the box, but significant amount of flexibility down the road. So being able to reduce the complexity has been a goal of most companies forever, right? It's been a very difficult thing to do. Meraki's leading the way in that with this reduced complexity. What I mean by that is making things easy, automated, utilizing machine learning and APIs, which typically those have a direct correlation to operating costs, right? And then you can minimize waste because you have less on-premise equipment while ensuring a safe workplace. Everything's in the box. It's highly available. We guarantee 4 nines of reliability to the cloud. And with the analytics and automation, making everything API ready, you can virtually tie just about anything that's programmable into our interface, which makes it a lot of fun. I've seen some really interesting things being tied into not just the camera systems, but with access points and switches as well. So keeping it simple, again, everything's all included with the Meraki purchase. So you have 2 part numbers. You have a hardware part number and a license part number. Okay, you get the 5-year warranty on the hardware, 3 years on the IoT sensors, but that includes so much. It includes overnight replacement, right? That's pretty big. Most companies charge extra for overnight replacement. 24/7 technical support is also included. And that's phone support, email support, whatever you need, they're there for you. Of course, Convergint has a great depth of capable support specialists as well, but we're here as well to back them up too. Over-the-air firmware upgrades, you schedule those, they happen. Typically, the camera or the access point, whatever it is, doesn't even require a reboot, but it's automated. You don't have to go in, you don't have to bring your thumb drive into the office and plug it into your DVR. And hope that the firmware takes, right? Very, very simple. Since everything's centrally managed in the cloud, we can see what your firmware version is and point you to the direct replacement firmware when that time is right. So now that everything's managed in the cloud, again, no traffic is going to our data centers. We can't see video, we can't see user traffic, but we throw new features in the cloud all the time. And so you might one day open up the user interface and see this brand new feature that maybe you were waiting for. Maybe it's just a big surprise, but the value increases over time as we add these new features to the dashboard that you didn't have to pay for. And that's directly shown by many third-party research analysts that have done, ROI return analysis on Meraki versus traditional systems. Typically, on average, and they surveyed, I think for this one, it was 20 or 30 customers randomly on their own, and they did an evaluation. It was a 43% return on investment compared to traditional systems. On maintenance alone, it was 75%. And so you have a 60% reduction in storage costs, 98% time savings to access and record and share videos. And then the cost reduction is pretty significant as well, at 30%, sometimes more, sometimes a little less, but on average, a 30% reduction in energy costs, which for sustainability folks, driving towards that sustainable future, that's a pretty big deal. And the reason for that is, first, the cameras can work on very low power, but next, they don't need a DVR. So you completely eliminate that DVR power consumption from the equation. Everything's centrally managed again on the cameras. The video is actually stored on the camera itself. It's a high endurance, solid state hard drive, built to last, and it's just right on board the camera. We do have an alternative, which is called Cloud Archive, where you can actually back up the video to the cloud if you wish. But I'd say 99% of our customers are completely happy with the onboard storage, whether it's getting 30 days of onboard storage or 90 days of onboard storage. We can find a camera that fits that need, because we're optimizing retention with smart codecs, where we were able to, in some cases, more than double the storage capacity out of existing hardware. Again, gaining value out of an investment that was potentially made months ago, and now you get double the storage capacity for free. Analytics are built in. We give you smart search tools. We've patented several tools in the dashboard to make your life easier. We do not sacrifice security. It is built in. We do make firewalls as well. We've been making firewalls for a long time, and we are the market leader in cloud managed firewalls by far. And we're taking a lot of that expertise and applying it to the camera system. So it prevents those cameras from being hacked and having your data or metadata trickle out to a third rogue country, for example. We have seen that in the past. So we try to put a stop to that the best of our ability. You have granular access controls, and your firmware is always up to date. So what more could you ask for? When it comes to security, one of the major components protecting the camera is what's called a trust anchor module. It gets kind of complex, but to summarize, it basically ensures that only Cisco certified software is running on that hardware. So if somebody tried to hack your operating system and clone it, they're not going to be able to. The hardware will literally shut off and you'll get an alert. With role-based access, you can configure users remotely, whether they're in sales or in engineering. They can get certain privileges to certain cameras, so it makes it very, very scalable. And with the firmware always up to date, it ensures that there's not a security vulnerability on your network from a camera that's running 10-year-old firmware or something like that. That's actually something I've seen quite often, unfortunately. Multiple ways to view the video. And I'm going to actually show you a live user interface so you can see it firsthand for yourself. But we have our traditional dashboard, which is very mature, and it's been around for 17 years. And then we also have the vision portal for those physical security centric users. Maybe they're camera only admins. They don't want to see the firewalls. They just want to see the video from the cameras and maybe export that video and share it with the police. So we have a dedicated portal just for those users if you'd like. We also have a mobile app. The mobile app is something I'll jump to in a moment. But the vision portal, we're always adding new features to the vision portal. One of the neat things about the vision portal is that it gives you a little map overlaid right on the user interface, so you can jump from camera to camera and get a snapshot of the view of that camera just from hovering over the dot that's overlaid on that map. And you can download video from an entire video wall if you want. Maybe you have 16 cameras on a video wall and you need to download all 16 of those cameras video for the last several hours. You can do that with a couple clicks, so it makes it very easy. Again, smart codecs was a new feature we rolled out. Just increased most of our users 50 to 100% of their storage capacity. So that's done. That was done around December, I think it was. That was a long time coming. So that was a very welcome feature. Regarding the mobile app, you don't have to have the mobile app. One of the nice things about Meraki is that you can basically access the user interface from anywhere in the world, right? On any device that's connected to the internet, essentially, right? And you can just open a browser and log in. You can do multi-factor authentication if you want. You can get really granular on those security controls. But long story short, you can access the video on your cameras anywhere in the world without a mobile app. The mobile app is nice, though, and it's free. But if you download the mobile app, it gives you a little more camera-centric, friendly features, like turning the phone sideways. It blows the screen up full screen. There's little easy buttons to do some of the features that if you were looking at a browser on your phone might be a little bit more difficult to find. But know that that's available. It's come a long way. They completely revamped the mobile app a couple years ago to make it more friendly for camera users. Regarding the camera lineup, we have 10 models. One of the most popular models is the fisheye camera. You can see full 360-degree view. A lot of fisheye cameras are actually 180, so it can be misleading. Ours is a full 360. The newest camera to the lineup is the MV52 on the bottom right. That's a very, very popular camera for outdoor camera installations. You can zoom in and read license plates at 100 yards away. Has about 170-foot IR illuminator, so very, very high power illuminator and a very high power camera. Now that camera also comes with a 1 terabyte of storage. So since we bumped up the video quality to 4K or 8 megapixels, whatever you want to call it, we needed to increase that storage capacity. So now the 1 terabyte is an option in that model. We have varifocal lens, fixed lens. We have our other new camera, the NV2, which is a flexible little camera. Interesting little camera because on the back of that mounting plate that's included, it's a very high power magnet. So you can virtually stick this up to anything that's metal and twist the face of the camera. It spins 360 degrees as well and walk away. So and you can hook up any one of these cameras via wireless. So these can be hooked up with PoE, connected to a switch, connected to your router, or you can just have these connected to your network wirelessly, which is nice. The MV2, that's the only way to really connect it unless you buy the PoE to USB-C converter. Most people are totally content with the wireless connectivity of that camera. They all have onboard storage except for the MV2. That one requires Cloud Archive. Again, most folks don't use Cloud Archive. They're happy with the onboard storage. And you go from 256 to 512 to 1 terabyte of storage. Now, if you have a data closet, so we actually made a camera just for data closets, and it's the MV12E. E stands for economical. So it only has a 128 gig hard drive in it, but if you're putting it in a network closet that doesn't have a lot of motion, you're probably going to get 6 months, maybe even a year of storage capacity out of that little 128 gig hard drive. So it's kind of a purpose-built camera, but they're all user-friendly. They all have audio recording capabilities. Most folks turn that off. It's off by default. They also have what you see as a little Bluetooth icon. And we get asked, what does that mean a lot? So really, it's to connect our IoT sensors. The IoT sensors communicate to the cameras via BLE, and that's how they communicate to the Meraki cloud. So there's a benefit there to having this, sort of an IoT gateway built right into the camera. They all also do object detection. You see a little person silhouette here. That means that they detect people, right? And you don't see the vehicle silhouette on the indoor cameras because the outdoor cameras have a vehicle detection as well. And that comes in really handy if you're wanting to do, fancy things like, count cars, which we do natively in dashboard, or count people, which we do natively in dashboard as well. You can sometimes consolidate multiple systems into one system if all you're really needing to do is count people or count vehicles. But you can take that object detection, turn it into, a lot of other things too. Maybe you want to read license plates and send those snapshots up to a license plate imager, which you can do. We have several ecosystem partners that do license plate recognition. The list goes on about the possibilities. I won't get into them all today, but please feel free to enter questions in chat, and we have Ryan and Tony on standby to answer those as we go. And we can always do a follow-up meeting as well. So out of the box, getting away from the API flexibility, which is really cool, but out of the box natively, you plug in the cameras, day one, what do you get? You get the motion search capabilities, which is one of the most used features on the whole system. Being able to highlight an area that you want to research. Maybe there was a laptop stolen on a desk. Highlight the area where the laptop was. The video will go back in time and find any time something moved in that area. But then it'll also show you motion recap images of any events where there was motion in that area. So now we've really sped up the time to resolve an incident. And basically, you're looking at a picture, that left picture there is this, you see these ghost images. That's a time-lapse picture of two people over a 30-second span. And without watching 30 seconds of video, I can tell you what happened, right? The guy on the left moved from the left to right or from the right to left. The lady on the right was looking at the red sweatshirt and she moved, to her right. So this right here is really, when you're talking about the ROI details, this is one of the features that really helps move the needle. Instead of looking at hours of video, you can look at motion recap images and find out, what happened and move on to the next image to find the event that really matters to you. Click on the image, it'll pull up the video. You can export the video in a couple of clicks or send it to whoever you need to, and you're done. Right? We've talked to several customers that this has saved them hours, a week in research time. Now, the motion heat maps are interesting. Basically, you hook up the camera, point it wherever you're wanting to look, and it automatically makes motion heat maps. And that's done based on motion. So anywhere there's motion, you'll see a heat map, and you can break that down on a time resolution by minute, by hour, or by day. And that's really relevant in retail for people that want to look at footfall traffic and where their customers are going. And again, with the object detection, counting people is natively supported in dashboard and as well as vehicle detection. But having the ability to detect people is key for most of the analytics that some customers want to do. If you want to look at the demographics, you can upload these images automatically via API to different databases that can look at those snapshots or look at the video as well. We support RTSP, MQTT. So there's multiple ways to access the video and integrate that into third-party systems. But first, you have to have an object detection, because you're not going to be able to typically accurately look at the demographical data of your customers or the footfall of that location without first being able to identify that that's a person, right? So then you can break it down from there further, but the first step is identifying what that object is in the picture. Now, all of those are supported natively, so that checks all the boxes. So if you're looking from left to right, you have your included analytics. You have your safety features, your business intelligence features, your security features, and then you start getting a little more creative. And maybe you want to get into the footfall analytics like we were just talking about. We have plenty of retailers that look at that demographic data so they can better understand their customers. But it doesn't just stop at retail. We have manufacturing customers that are literally using cameras for quality assurance. And there's algorithms that are readily available. We have over 150 ecosystem partners, 250, sorry, I almost sold Meraki short, 250 ecosystem partners that are plug and play with our cameras that can do quality assurance measurements. So what I mean by that is, like this other example I was talking about, looking at a shipping line, it's looking inside the box, it's comparing the image to what that image should be based on the order. Okay, and if it's looking at the overhead visual of that box and it's missing an item that was on that order, you get an alert. Hey, don't tape that box up yet. You're missing, this flavor of cereal that was ordered. Those kind of things. So you can start to look at ways that you can save significant amounts of money with a camera just by plugging it in and pointing it where you want it to look instead of hiring a full-time quality assurance person. Even with quality assurance full-time employees, many times they still miss things. We're human, but a camera with the right analytics can give you, 98% accuracy. So very, very, even 100% accuracy with the right training to really minimize those defects on a product going out the door or a package going out the door. Or if you want to look at conversion rates, that's another very common one in retail. Tying the system, since it's open API, tie the system into the point of sale terminal and look at the sales for that day and start to correlate that data with the foot traffic. Or maybe you want to see where customers are going. Maybe you want to look at desk occupancy. That's another thing people are doing, which is really neat with these, offices of the future, you might call them, where you can analyze the occupancy of a room or a desk with the camera and then go ahead and make a reservation with the right application. You can do that. PPE detection is another very common one. The list goes on, but you get the core value with a lot of flexibility down the road. If you ever want to integrate this, it's very doable. On the sensor side, again, these communicate directly to the camera or access points for their gateway. But the reason for that, if they were talking directly to the cloud themselves, they would be consuming a lot of battery life. So we're able to get 5 years of battery life out of these sensors because of that. And just using Bluetooth, very low overhead on that battery consumption. It's simple. They come with batteries, AA batteries. You pull the little plastic thing away from the batteries and hook them up. They come with a strong magnet base that you can also bolt on if you'd like. And essentially, you're done. Temperature, humidity, you have your temperature freezer sensors, your water leak detection, your door open, door closed sensors, which we mentioned a moment ago. And so we're seeing all of these various use cases. The most common is IDF closets, because people need to protect those big investments in those IDF, MDF, data center closets. Now, the air sensor quality is one of our newer ones. I need to remove the little second half FY22. It's already available and shipping, the MT14. The nice thing with this is it's an air quality sensor that you can check, particulate matter, total volatile compounds, but it also does temperature and humidity at the same time. A very easy to use sensor. And then we have our MT30 sensor, which I happen to have one right here. And when I push this button, and it's Bluetooth connected, has little batteries in there, 5-year battery life, and a little light will come on when I push this button. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I just pushed it. I have mine programmed. When I push this button, it takes a snapshot of all 7 of the cameras here at my home. I'm always testing new stuff, so I have a lot of cameras here. When I push that button, it takes a snapshot of those cameras, and it emails me the pictures of all 7 of those cameras. It text messages me a picture of all those cameras, and it also sends it via webhook, because that's all natively integratable in dashboard, through my Cisco WebEx room. So I get 3 different notifications, all that include a picture of each one of 7 of those cameras. But that's just one thing that you can do with it. We have customers integrating that with the ServiceNow ticketing. Maybe you have a button next to that that printer that breaks every week. Next time it breaks, you push that button, it automatically opens up a service desk ticket for the repair person to come out and repair that printer. Or maybe you want it to, when there's an alarm and somebody needs help, push the button. We have it in retailers where they push a button and that alerts staff that somebody over in a certain area needs a store associate to come help them. So the list goes on the possibilities that you can accomplish with that button, but it is weatherproof, so you can put it outdoors as well. But a very interesting little item that we just brought to the market just a couple months ago, and we're seeing a lot of traction with that. So when you're talking about the MV and MT integration, of course, they're integratable. When the sensors first hit the market from Cisco, they weren't integratable, but they are today. It's very neat because now when you're looking at your camera data, I'm looking at a video here, and at the bottom of this timeline, the little blue marks are my sensor events, and the orange marks are when the camera detected a person. So now you have a good correlation there where you can jump right to the sensor that's tied to that camera. Or if you're looking at the sensor data, click on the button, it'll show you the video of that door opening or when there was a temperature fluctuation, that kind of thing. So a neat little integration there makes it nice and easy to use. And that's what it's all about, making your life easier. So that's only half the story, right? We talked a little bit about the ecosystem. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail on this because there's the possibilities are really endless on what you can do with the integrations. But just know that there are plenty available, most of which are pretty plug and play from our ecosystem portfolio. But the API adoption is growing significantly. Whereas 10 years ago, almost nobody was really playing around with the APIs that we offered. And today, the percentage has, I think it's like 20% of our customers are now leveraging the API to some degree. So it can make your life easier if you wanted to kind of play around and build your own APIs or just use one from our marketplace. They're readily available. And I can send you that website if you'd like, or Tony can as well. It's called the Meraki Marketplace. You can go in there and search for your particular use case and find the plug and play application there. And all of these ecosystem partners are vetted by Meraki. We don't just throw them up there and hope that they work. We do vet them pretty thoroughly to make sure that they do work. All right, I am going to show you a demo of the actual user interface. Let me make sure that everything is still on. Sometimes if I'm sitting idle too long as a security precaution, it can log you out. And that's just a timeout feature that's been done to protect us from security threats. So let me log back in real quick. And we'll get on it. Do we have any chat questions that you want to bring into my attention, Tony or Ryan? We can answer while I'm doing that.
No chat questions right now, Steve.
Okay.
But just wanted to pop back on and let you know if we can see the shared screen.
Yep. I just wanted to log in. I didn't want to bore everybody to tears with me logging into the dashboard. but we are in, and
Awesome.
it didn't take
We
long.
can see you.
Good, good. Okay, so I'm looking at a camera right now. So for those new to Meraki, when you're in the Meraki dashboard, and this is the traditional dashboard, on the left side of the screen, you can see which network you're on, right? And you could have hundreds of locations, one location, thousands, doesn't matter, but they'll all be here and you can search for them real quickly and find them. And then you have your network-wide, analytics and configuration settings. If you have a firewall, that'll be here. You have your switches, your access points. Cameras are just another thing added to the platform, right? So it makes it easy to access any one of those things at this particular location, right? So I'm just looking at a camera. I want to jump real quick and show you what the organization overview would look like if you initially log in and you have a great deal of locations. You'll see the health of your total organization at a glance. And so when you're here, you'll actually see on the right side all of your networks, the ones that need help, red or yellow. That means they may need a little extra attention, but you can quickly find those sites and the health of those sites, whether it's a camera or any of the other products that Meraki makes. You can find the health of your total environment with a couple clicks. Now, what's also nice with Meraki is that if you have a Meraki switch, now you don't have to have a Meraki switch to see Meraki cameras. They can be plugged in, anything that provides them clean PoE power, they'll work, okay? But if you do happen to have a switch, there's an extra benefit there in that the switches automatically make topology maps. And that's really nice if you're managing a camera network, right? So you can see which switch that camera is plugged into. I can see all the switches that are plugged into this camera. Virtually, I can see anything plugged into this switch, right? So I can quickly find out the router, the switch that camera is plugged into. If I want to get a little bit extra information, I can click on the network tab. It'll actually tell me which switch port this camera is plugged into, the IP address. A lot of detail here with a couple clicks. And then when you're going to the actual switch, it'll show you which port in a visual that camera is plugged into. So if you have someone going on site to do something, maybe the cable's bad, you can tell them, hey, it's port 10, and you have that live visual data at your fingertips. And from here, you can also do a quick cycle port. So if you want to reboot the power on that switch port or do a quick cable test, if you just want to make sure there's no short on that cable, you can do a quick cable test too. So really neat to have that extra layer of visibility if you happen to have the Meraki switch. Let me refresh this so it'll log me back in. And so I was looking at the analytics earlier. This is a neat native integration. So I'll show you the video. So this is the video that the analytics are being done on, right? And I have different tables with different products. But if you go to the analytics tab, it'll actually give me the people count for those particular areas, which we've made zones. So we have, 100 people came through today. How many of those actually bought something? Looks like about 25 at 9 a.m. How many went to the bags and luggage area or the gadget island? So you can kind of see what the capabilities here are for the analytics, and you can create multiple zones within any field of view on any camera to do those analytics. So looking at the video, maybe there was an incident. Okay, this is just streaming one video. You can do up to 16 tiles on a video wall, and that's fine. You can do that. You can have the video walls automatically rotate every 10 seconds or whatever the time frame is that you choose. But for now, I'm just looking at one camera. So maybe there was a shirt stolen over here, and we don't know who did it or even what time that shirt was stolen. So you'll quickly jump to the motion search capabilities, and let's just highlight the shirt, and let's start looking at the data. From, looks like 11:45, I'm going back and searching data. Now I have my motion recap images. Maybe this is the person that I'm looking for. You can see she really didn't do anything suspicious, and neither did he. But maybe this person actually interfaced with the shirt in some way. So you can pull up the image, okay, and it'll tell you the timestamp of that event and the duration of that event. We can see it was 30 seconds long. If I actually click to the next image, there were actually 3 images in that one motion recap. It'll actually break it down for you a little bit further, so you don't have to look at the video. You can just click a button, and it'll show you motion recap image by motion recap image. So let's play the video on the event that I want, which is this particular person. And so maybe this is the event that I'm looking for. So let's go in full screen mode. And even though it's recorded video, maybe we need to zoom in. That's fine. Maybe I want to go frame by frame and get a better picture, right? So here I go. I have what I'm looking for, and now I want to go ahead and export this video. So with a couple clicks, you can do an export, and you can share live stream. So if I want to share this to the police, I could share this to the police. If I want to send this to Tony, and Tony's already a camera admin, I just click share link internally, and it copies this URL right here into my clipboard, and I can paste that into my messaging service or email or texting, whatever I want to share it with. And Tony, when he clicks on it, it's going to bring up this exact moment in time, this timestamp for this event. So with a couple of clicks, I shared it internally. Externally, same thing. You want to share live video with the police. Export's what most people are going to do because they want to get this video in the hands of different authorities. And there's an easy button. So down here, you can drag the time of that event export. So make it real easy. You can get real granular and click here and go down to the second if you'd like. This is kind of the easy button down here. Okay, and I click export. So I can't export. I'm not an admin on this. This is actually a Cisco store in San Jose, California. Hopefully we can get some of the folks on the phone with us today there. We do executive briefings there, and we have Cisco gear to sell you. So this camera is set up in that environment, and they didn't give me access. So when you export that, it essentially shows up then on your exports tab. So when you're in your exports tab, then there's a few different ways that you can share the exports from there, right? So one of the best ways to share the video, in my opinion, is to just pick the export that you want to share, and then it's not going to let me do it. And then you literally are sharing the clip URL. So this is backed up in our data centers. So every export that you create is backed up for 12 months. So we store that for you for 12 months. And you also get a hyperlink to that event. So you can then send that hyperlink to the police and have them download the video themselves. Because as you know, it's a lot easier to share a URL link than it is a whole video, right? So that's the most common way to share, just send them the link. Of course, you can just download the footage to your computer or your thumb drive and do it that way too. Now, maybe you want to combine several of these different exports because you weren't able to get them all done on one screen. They run a video wall. You could literally check the boxes next to the cameras you want to export, and it'll automatically be a combined export. But maybe you didn't do that and you want to combine them later. You just click the exports that you want to combine and combine them that way. So it's still kind of the easy button to export multiple video streams. Here, let me get into, there we go. So now I wanted to jump into the Vision portal. So this is another method of actually viewing the video. So this is the camera only interface. This has all the bells and whistles of the traditional user interface. But as you can see, it's just showing me cameras. I no longer see the firewalls or access points or anything. And you can do camera only admins. And so when a camera only admin is looking at the traditional dashboard, all it's going to show are the cameras. It's not even going to show them the switches or anything else anyway. However, the Vision portal is a little more physical security friendly, right? You get this little map on the screen. You have some extra tools all on one page to make your life a little easier. One of the things I like about it is the little map. And so when this page is loaded, it actually takes a snapshot of all the cameras in that environment. So then you can hover over each image and actually see those snapshots from each camera. And the camera in blue is the camera that you're actually looking at currently. And you can blow this up and make it bigger if you want to do a deeper dive or an investigation. And floor plans are stored, at no cost in our dashboard. So you can have virtually unlimited floor plans here. That makes it nice and easy. So again, we can do the same motion search in the Vision portal. Let's look at the shirt. And now you're going to get your motion recap images over here. And if you have a lot of them, I like to actually do the advanced search because it'll show you all on one screen, all of the motion recap images to make it even easier. And maybe you get too many. Maybe there was a false positive and then you're getting too many images that aren't really real. You can increase the event length to minimize those false positives. Very, very friendly and very easy to use. So let's look at a video wall. And if I'm looking at any camera that's already assigned to a video wall, it'll actually tell you which video walls it's assigned to. So just from this camera, I can jump into, I have a point of sale video wall. So let's pull that up. There we go. Point of sale. So I'm already loaded on the CSR camera. It'll load the others. And then you can actually have this tile. You have your video wall rotation on the bottom left and have this rotate video walls automatically every 30 seconds or every minute. That way you don't have to have multiple video walls on all at the same time. The main reason why you wouldn't want to have a bunch of video walls all on at the same time is for the bandwidth. So the great thing with the cameras is when they're just looking and storing video locally to their own hard drive, right? They're only consuming about 10 to 50 kilobits a second, which is almost nothing, right? So very low overhead. Of course, when you're streaming video remotely, it's got to consume some internet bandwidth. And so typically people only want to consume, up to 16 cameras of a video wall because of the bandwidth consumption. So you can build your video walls intelligently. I'm going to do one other thing here real quick and look at the video wall on the traditional dashboard, because I think they're doing some beta testing at that site on that Vision portal, which is always fun for live demos. Yeah, there we go. It's working fine on the traditional one. So we are our own guinea pigs. So we're always beta testing our own stuff, but it's in our own corporate environment. All right. So now if you're here and you want to do a motion search, it'll actually show you the motion search images, even though you're on the video wall down here, right? Same capabilities, even though it's on an entire video wall. But then when you go to do your exports, you can actually, start to choose which of these cameras you want to do the export on. And that's where it becomes really user-friendly and saving you a lot of extra time instead of downloading video from each camera one at a time. All right, so the one thing that we haven't jumped to are the settings. So the settings are actually pretty fun. So the cameras have a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor on board. And we're using that for the analytics, the people counting, the motion recap images, all that fun stuff. But you can really appreciate it even more, in my opinion, when you're in the camera settings and you're looking at the recorded time, okay? Because that processor is looking at the past 7 days of motion, and it'll estimate based on that previous motion, what's the recording capabilities of this hard drive based on the motion, okay? And in this one, we have motion-based retention turned on. This is 24/7 because we have that motion screen going on and they haven't set it up properly to ignore that motion from that live graphic interface. But I'll show you anyway because it's neat. So this is recording at 24 frames a second. Maybe I need more than 11 days, right? This is very uncommon. Usually you get 30, pretty much guaranteed. So you can start playing with the settings to see what that'll do to your recording capabilities. If I jump this down to 8 frames a second, I'm going to get 34 days, even though it's recording 24/7 because there's always motion due to that graphic. Now, if I jump to 720p, I'm going to get 69 days of recording. Okay, so you can take these storage settings and actually make a profile out of them. So then you can just assign that recording profile to all of your cameras at that store, or you can have multiple profiles and assign various profiles to various cameras, but you don't have to get in here and recreate the wheel with every camera. Essentially, you can get into your camera list and start adding profiles to certain cameras with a couple clicks to make it very scalable. It's almost like a template, if you will, to deploy hundreds of cameras with a few clicks as opposed to getting in and manage them one at a time. You also have your wireless profiles. Of course, these can be connected wirelessly. You have your zones if you want to count people in a new zone, right? I want to count people in a different zone. You create a new zone. It'll start counting people in that specific zone. Very common feature is the virtual fence. So if you want to create a virtual fence, you basically highlight the area that you want to be the virtual fence. Anytime a person crosses that invisible line, you can get an alert. And of course, that alert can be text message, email, or webhook, depending on what you need. Many low light features in here to make sure that you're getting the video quality you need. And then we have the Sense API. So this can be leveraged if you want to go back in time and count people from, hey, in March, how many people were in front of the cash register. That's an additional license because we are actually storing that metadata for you. Of course, we're not seeing the video again, but we can store that metadata for the people counting and those kind of things. And you can actually turn that on, and that opens up a plethora of different API things that you can enable. For example, audio detection. If you want to get an alert when there's a fire alarm pulled the camera, even if it's not recording audio, can determine that what it's hearing is a fire alarm based on the computer generated sound, right? So that's interesting. You can turn that on. You can have custom CV. So if you want to start detecting custom things, maybe you just turned on, we just did this at a show where we were counting dice at ISC West, where you roll the dice, it'll count the numbers on the dice after you roll them. And that's a custom built computer vision analytic, right? So you can actually upload that right on board the camera and let it run on the camera, as opposed to the camera streaming to the cloud or streaming to a server. It's using its own computer on board to do all of the analytics and the compression and everything else that you need. Now, if you want to integrate this to an external server, again, another API ecosystem partner, you just basically use the MQTT broker. Okay, type in the name, you fill out some basic information, IP addresses, those kind of things, and now you're actually sending those snapshots or the video feed to third parties to do those analytics. But everything is done under the Sense tab very easily. Okay, so I think we've covered everything. Tony, is there anything you'd like me to jump to before I just hand the ball back to you while I'm in the user interface?
Yeah, Steve, do you want to show the health monitoring side from a device health and kind of dashboarding perspective?
Yeah, so as far as that goes, you have your organization overview, right? So that's where you can see the health at a glance of everything in your environment. Point me to what you're referring to exactly, Tony.
I'm thinking of that like kind of red light, green light dashboard that's there. It might not be configured on your test instance here.
I actually don't think it is. So we do have Meraki Health that can look at the authentication fails and the health of your clients and the health of your access point switches, firewalls. But we have the other alerts built in for the camera. So if there's a camera failure, you'll get an email, text message, webhook, or if it goes offline or a hardware failure, either one, and then the virtual fence alerts. But the Meraki Health hasn't been extended into the camera line yet. That's something that they're working on. Anything else you want me to jump to while I'm in here, though?
I think I'm good. If there's any questions, feel free to put it here in the Q&A tab. But I think Steve, we can flip back over to the kind of next steps here on the PowerPoint.
Yep, will do. One last thing before I jump, I just wanted to show the camera only admins. Very heavily used feature, so I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up. If you want to give access to certain admins to very specific cameras and only those cameras, you can essentially add their usernames and just give them access to certain cameras with a certain tag. So you can do unlimited tags per camera and give users access to only cameras with those tags anywhere in the world. So that can make scaling this out again from a user admin standpoint, very, very quick and easy. All right, so let's jump back into the PowerPoint. And we are on the last steps. Tony, I'll let you cover this, sir.
I appreciate that, Steve. So from a next step standpoint, if you have any follow-up questions after we close out the webinar, or if you want any personalized demos, you can reach directly out to me. My email address is there. And then from the giveaway that we were talking about at the beginning of the webinar, if you're interested in that, all you have to do is take your mobile device and scan the QR code there on the screen. That will deflect you out to take a quick 5-question survey. Give us a little bit of feedback on the time here today and maybe how we can improve it in the future, and your thoughts in general. And then from there, tomorrow we will be taking one of those responses and raffling off both the camera and the pizza oven that Steve was talking about before. So with that, I'll roll into the Q&A. So one of the questions, I think Ryan's answering it here as well, but I'll defer this to you, Steve. So question here coming in, can we use the people counting recognition as a way to take a head count in a facility?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was very common, especially with the capacity constraints from COVID. Huge uptick in people actually using that data. Most of the time people look at it and say, hey, that's cool, but don't use it. but you can do capacity monitoring with that. You can have this integrated into a third party to show you a live dashboard, or you can build your own, or you can just use the native data that I showed you earlier. But what we were seeing, which was interesting, are people that were putting these up on a monitor behind the host desk or the hostess desk in a lobby and showing live capacity monitoring statistics. So say the capacity is 100 people, there's 75 people in, you can only go to 75% capacity according to some state laws. So you're not allowed into the elevator yet. Have a seat. When this number jumps to 74, have that monitor turn green and say go on to the elevator. But yeah, certainly a pretty heavily used feature, and that can be done.
Absolutely, and that can be aggregated across multiple cameras, right, Steve? From a dashboarding perspective, right? I can see the whole facility, or all the way down to the individual camera. How many people is that individual camera seeing?
Yeah, correct. If you want to do an entire facility, there's some setup requirements, obviously, so you're not duplicate counting people, and that would be an ecosystem partner that would have to do that, or you'd have to build that out yourself. But it's certainly being done today and can be done.
Absolutely. So the person who asked that question, feel free to reach out to me if you want some more information on what that looks like and how we would deploy something like that in the future. Travis asked, if a camera fails and is replaced, can the video from the camera be saved, or is it lost?
So under most circumstances, the video, if the camera has completely failed and it was a complete hardware failure, the video is lost, unfortunately. If you have cloud archive, the video is backed up constantly. So you're going to have the video there. Now, if you're doing an export, all the exports are stored in our data center for you. So you wouldn't lose any of your exports. Those are backed up for 12 months. Yep. So usually what we try to, when we're doing designs, we try to have some overlapping coverage because, it's technology. Nothing runs forever without any hitches. Of course, we have the warranty, overnight replacement, that kind of thing. That's great. But, occasionally there would be a failure. So we try to make sure that there's another camera at least covering some part of that event, so you're not completely at a loss of that video.
Great. Any other questions out there? Feel free to shoot them into the chat, and we'll answer them with the last 5 minutes that we have remaining in the conversation here. We'll give you another 60 seconds if you've got questions out there. Otherwise, we will move on and move to close the meeting.
This was good. Tony, I really appreciate you having us on. Looking forward to strengthening our partnership with Convergint, through the years. So I think this is just the beginning of what's to come. But we certainly value what you all do in this industry and are very excited about the partnership. So thanks so much for having us on, and really looking forward to, moving in the right direction with you guys. Yeah, likewise, Steve. Really appreciate you doing the demo here and putting together the Meraki overview and joining us here today. And thanks for everybody else for joining us here this afternoon. Unless you're on the West Coast, it might be morning still out there. But thank you so much for joining us. Hope that this was valuable, and really looking forward to the feedback from the survey. I'll leave this screen up here as you go out in case you're scanning that QR code still. Otherwise, we will share some of this content out with everybody who attended, as well as a follow-up. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.